Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. A real woman of God doesn't chase people who can't see her worth. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't water herself down so she can fit into somebody else's shallow cup. She rises. She rises because she knows exactly who she is and who she is. When you understand that your identity is anchored in something bigger than opinions, bigger than trends, bigger than any rejection you've ever faced, you start to walk differently. You stop looking over your shoulder, wondering if you're enough. You stop shrinking yourself just to keep somebody comfortable. Rejection is not a verdict on your value. Rejection is simply God's way of clearing space for the people and opportunities that match your purpose. Stop trying to drag dead weight into your destiny. If it left, let it go. If it closed, trust it wasn't your door. Because when you spend your days chasing what was never meant for you, you delay what is meant for you. God didn't create you to be desperate. He didn't design you to compromise your standards. You were made to stand tall in faith, to walk boldly in purpose, and to rise with an unshakable confidence that doesn't need applause to feel secure. Your value was settled the moment God breathed life into you. No one has the power to take that away. So stop chasing, start rising, rise in power, rise in purpose. And when you do, you'll see that everything you thought you had to run after will find its way to you, because a woman who knows her worth attracts what she deserves without ever having to beg for it. Embracing your divine identity is one of the most powerful decisions you will ever make, because it shifts how you see yourself and how you move through the world. When you understand that your value is rooted in something eternal and unshakable, you stop seeking validation from people who were never meant to define you. You stop allowing circumstances to dictate your worth. You realize that your Creator knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb, and that He designed you with a purpose no one else can fulfill. Every flaw you think you have, every insecurity you carry, every piece of your story that you believe makes you less worthy is already known to God, and still He calls you chosen, beloved, and set apart. When you embrace this divine identity, you begin to see that you were never an accident or an afterthought. You were crafted with intention, with gifts, with a voice, and with a light meant to shine in dark places. You are not defined by the opinions of those who could not see your value. You are not limited by the label society has placed on you. You are not confined to the mistakes of your past or the pain you have endured. There's a strength inside you that does not come from your own striving, but from the Spirit of God who dwells within you. That is what gives you a confidence that cannot be manufactured by compliments or shattered by criticism. People may have tried to convince you that you had to earn love, that you had to prove your worthiness, that you had to mold yourself into their expectations to be accepted. But when you embrace your divine identity, you break free from those chains. You recognize that you are already loved without condition, already accepted without performance, already valued beyond measure. The world will constantly try to tell you that you are not enough, that you have to do more, be more, achieve more to matter. But the truth is, you were enough the moment God created you. You were enough before you accomplished a single thing. You were enough before anyone applauded or affirmed you. Embracing your divine identity also means refusing to compare yourself to others. Comparison is one of the enemy's most subtle weapons, because it makes you doubt what God has placed inside you. When you measure your worth by someone else's highlight reel, you diminish the significance of your own journey. You start to believe that their gifts, their blessings, their calling somehow negate your own. But God is not limited in what He can do through you. He does not run out of purpose, favor, or opportunities. Your path is unique, your story is sacred, and your impact is irreplaceable. You must learn to silence the voices that tell you you're too broken to use by God. You must learn to silence the doubts that whisper you're too far gone, too imperfect, too ordinary. The very things you think disqualify you are often the things God will use to show His power and grace through you. When you embrace your divine identity, you surrender the need to control how people perceive you. You stop performing for approval and start living from a place of authenticity. You start to walk in rooms with your head held high, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you finally know you belong. Living in your divine identity is not about arrogance. It's about agreement. You are agreeing with God about who you are. You are agreeing that His word carries more weight than your feeling. You are agreeing that his promises are truer than your fears. When you walk in that agreement, you unlock a confidence that is unshakable because it is anchored in something deeper than circumstances. Every time you doubt your worth, you can remember that God calls you his masterpiece. You can remind yourself that he knit you together with precision and care. You can remind yourself that no failure or rejection can erase his plans for you. Even when you feel unseen, he sees you. Even when you feel unheard, he listens. Even when you feel unworthy, he calls you worthy. Embracing your divine identity is also about living with purpose. You were not created to drift aimlessly or to settle for less than what God has prepared for you. You have gifts that the world needs. You have a light that is meant to break through darkness. You have a voice that can bring healing, hope, and truth. When you recognize that your life carries eternal significance, you start to live differently. You start to choose integrity over compromise, faith over fear, and love over bitterness. You begin to understand that you don't have to chase people or opportunities to prove your value. What is meant for you will not pass you by. What God has ordained for your life will not be taken by anyone else. So you can let go of desperation. You can release the urge to strive endlessly for approval. You can rest in the assurance that you are held in the hands of a God who is for you, not against you. Embracing your divine identity also means extending grace to yourself. It means understanding that growth is a process, that healing takes time, and that you will have moments when you forget who you are. But even in those moments, your identity does not change. You are still chosen. You are still loved. You are still called. You are still enough. When you look in the mirror, you may see flaws and shortcomings, but God sees potential and purpose. He sees the finished work, the story redeemed, the beauty rising from the ashes. He sees the strength in your spirit, the resilience in your heart, the fire in your soul. You are not just anyone. You are a daughter of the Most High God, and that reality changes everything. When you embrace your divine identity, you give yourself permission to dream boldly. You start to believe that the desires in your heart are not random, but planted by God himself. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable, and you stop apologizing for the call on your life. You realize that playing small does not serve anyone. It certainly does not honor the one who created you. You also start to love others from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. When you know you are loved unconditionally, you don't look to others to fill what only God can satisfy. You can love freely because you are not afraid of losing yourself in the process. You can serve wholeheartedly because your worth is secure. You can set boundaries without guilt because you understand that protecting your peace honors the God who gave it to you. This is what happens when you embrace your divine identity. You rise. You rise above insecurity, comparison, and fear. You rise into purpose, confidence, and joy. You rise because you finally understand that you are not defined by what you have or haven't done. You are defined by who God says you are. Rising above rejection is one of the most transformative things you can ever learn to do, because rejection is something everyone faces, but not everyone knows how to handle. It can be the sting that lingers in your heart, the memory that plays on repeat in your mind, or the wound that shapes how you see yourself and what you believe you deserve. When someone turns away, when something you hope for doesn't work out, when a door you were certain would open suddenly slams shut, it can feel like a verdict on your worth. But rejection is not proof that you are unworthy or unlovable. It is not evidence that your life is off course or that you don't matter. In truth, rejection is often God's redirection. It is the way he clears space in your life for what is truly meant for you. The way he protects you from relationships, environments, and paths that would have harmed your spirit or kept you from becoming who you are called to be. When you begin to see rejection through this lens, it loses its power to define you. You realize that being turned away does not mean you are lacking. It means that something better is waiting. It means that your story is still unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Sometimes the very thing you think you lost is what God will later show you was never aligned with your destiny in the first place. The relationship you begged to work out, the opportunity you thought would complete you, the place you tried so hard to belong, they all can feel like necessary pieces of your life until you look back with clarity and thank God for removing them. Rising above rejection begins with separating your identity from the outcome. You have to understand that no one's acceptance or rejection has the authority to change your value. You were loved before you were ever celebrated, cherished, before you were ever chosen by another person, seen before you were ever validated by anyone else. When you root yourself in this truth, you stop giving other people the power to tell you who you are. You stop measuring your worth by their ability to appreciate your presence. It is easy to internalize rejection and make it about your shortcomings. You replay the words that were said, wondering what you could have done differently, where you failed, why you weren't enough. But the reality is that some people are simply incapable of recognizing your value because they haven't learned to recognize their own. Some situations are designed to teach you, not to keep you. Some endings are divine protection, not punishment. When you rise above rejection, you no longer see it as a signal to shrink back into fear or self-pity. You see it as an invitation to step into greater alignment with your purpose. You start to trust that what is meant for you will not require you to betray yourself to keep it. You begin to understand that if something requires you to compromise your values, abandon your identity, or beg for validation, it was never yours to begin with. Sometimes the hardest thing about rejection is the feeling of being unseen or misunderstood. You invest your heart, your time, your energy, and it feels like all of it was wasted when it doesn't work out. But nothing is ever wasted in God's economy. The lessons you learn, the strength you gain, the resilience you develop, it all becomes part of your story and equips you for what's ahead. Every no makes you more prepared to steward the yes that is coming. Every closed door strengthens your ability to walk through the open ones with gratitude instead of entitlement. Rising above rejection means giving yourself permission to feel the pain without letting it become your identity. You can grieve what you lost. You can acknowledge the disappointment. You can honor your emotions without letting them take root as permanent beliefs about your worth. You are allowed to feel sad without deciding that you are defective. You are allowed to be hurt without concluding that you are unlovable. It also means refusing to let bitterness take hold. Rejection can tempt you to build walls around your heart so you never have to feel vulnerable again. It can convince you that caring too much is the problem, that loving too deeply is what gets you hurt. But the truth is, your capacity to love is not the issue. The issue is believing that someone's inability to receive your love is a reflection of its value. When you rise above rejection, you keep your heart open, not because you are naive, but because you trust that the right people will honor it. You understand that guarding your heart doesn't mean closing it off. It means setting healthy boundaries and knowing that your worth is not up for negotiation. Rising above rejection also requires releasing the need for closure you may never get. Sometimes people will never fully explain why they walked away. But sometimes situations will end without a satisfying conclusion. You will be tempted to stay stuck, waiting for answers that may never come. But freedom is found when you decide that you don't need someone else's validation or explanation to move forward. You can close that chapter yourself. You can choose to let go without all the pieces neatly in place. When you rise above rejection, you also reclaim your power to write your own narrative. You stop allowing past disappointments to dictate future expectations. You stop assuming that every new opportunity will end the same way. You give yourself permission to hope again, to believe again, to trust again. You understand that rejection is part of the human experience, but it does not have to define the entirety of your story. One of the most powerful things you can do is to bless what didn't work out, to thank God for what you don't understand yet, to trust that in ways you cannot see, He is orchestrating something far greater. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away, it all makes space for what is meant to flourish in your life. Rising above rejection is not a one-time decision. It is a daily choice. Some days you will feel strong and certain, and other days the old doubts will creep back in. That is normal. Healing is not linear. Growth takes time. But every time you choose to believe you are still worthy, every time you refuse to let rejection harden your heart, every time you get back up and keep moving forward, you are rising. You are rising because you understand that your story is not over. You are rising because you know your worth doesn't fluctuate based on who stays or who goes. You are rising because you have decided that no loss can steal the purpose God placed inside you. You are rising because you believe that what is meant for you will always find its way. And until then, you will keep showing up as the person you were created to be. Walking in purpose is not about achieving perfection or having every detail of your life figured out. It is about understanding that you were created with intention and choosing each day to live in alignment with that truth. Purpose is not reserved for a select few who have it all together or who never struggle with doubt. Purpose is woven into the fabric of who you are, and it often becomes clearer as you take small steps forward, even when you feel unprepared or uncertain. When you walk in purpose, you make a decision to let your life mean something more than just survival or routine. You commit to living with clarity and conviction, even when it costs you comfort or approval. Many people drift through life waiting for a sign that it is time to start living with intention. They wait for circumstances to be perfect or for their fears to disappear before they take action. But purpose is rarely revealed in moments of ease. More often, it unfolds in the midst of challenges, in the ordinary moments when you choose to show up and be faithful with what is in front of you. When you walk in purpose, you understand that every experience, every setback, and every victory is part of the process of becoming who you are meant to be. Walking in purpose requires you to let go of the idea that your value is tied to what you produce or how you perform. Your purpose is not simply about what you do, but about who you are and the impact your life has on the people around you. It is about how you treat others, how you show up when no one is watching, how you use your gifts to serve something bigger than yourself. Purpose is not always loud or glamorous. Recut. Sometimes it looks like quietly being present for someone in pain, offering encouragement to someone who feels unseen, or doing your work with excellence even when no one acknowledges it. To walk in purpose, you have to be willing to trust that God has already equipped you with everything you need for the season you are in. You may not feel ready, but readiness is not a requirement for obedience. You don't have to have all the answers before you take the next step. You simply need to be willing to move in faith, believing that clarity will come as you go. Purpose often becomes clearer in action than in contemplation. You can spend years waiting for a perfect plan, or you can start where you are and allow God to direct your steps. Another part of walking in purpose is learning to quiet the voices that try to convince you that you are not qualified. Self-doubt is a natural response when you step into something bigger than yourself, but it does not have to be the deciding factor in your choices. You may feel like you are not enough, but God is more than enough. He does not call the qualified. He qualifies the call. Your willingness matters more than your credentials. Your surrender matters more than your confidence. If you are willing to show up and be used, He will do the work through you. Comparison is one of the greatest threats to purpose. When you spend your time measuring your journey against someone else's, you rob yourself of the joy of your own progress. You were not created to be a copy of anyone else. Your gifts, your story, and your experiences are unique to you, and they equip you to reach people no one else can reach in the way you can. Walking in purpose means celebrating the success of others without questioning your own significance. It means understanding that someone else's win is not your loss, and that there's enough room for everyone to fulfill their calling. Walking in purpose also means embracing discomfort. Growth rarely happens in safe places. Sometimes stepping into purpose requires you to leave behind what is familiar and step into the unknown. It may mean risking failure, criticism, or rejection. But staying where you are out of fear will cost you more than taking a chance on what could be. The discomfort you feel when you stretch beyond your limits is often a sign that you are moving in the right direction. If you never feel challenged, you will never discover the depth of your potential. To walk in purpose, you have to be willing to let go of what no longer aligns with where you are going. This may mean releasing relationships, habits, or mindsets that keep you. It can be painful to outgrow people or environments you once loved, but holding on to what is comfortable will keep you from stepping into what is possible. You cannot walk in purpose and cling to what keeps you small. You have to trust that what you release makes room for something better. Walking in purpose also involves being a good steward of what you have been given. It means showing up with excellence, not for recognition, but because it honors the one who gave you the opportunity. It means being faithful in the small things, knowing that how you handle what seemed insignificant prepares you for greater responsibility. If you are not willing to be diligent in obscurity, you will not be prepared for influence. Every season of preparation matters, even if it feels hidden. Living with purpose does not mean you will always feel inspired or motivated. There will be days when you are tired, discouraged, or tempted to quit. But purpose is sustained by discipline, not emotion. It is choosing to keep going when you no longer feel like it because you know your why. It is remembering that the impact of your life is bigger than your temporary feelings. When you have a clear sense of purpose, you can endure seasons of hardship because you know they are shaping you for what is next. Walking in purpose also requires humility. It means recognizing that you are not the source of your strength or success. It means giving credit where it belongs and staying grounded in gratitude. Purpose is never about elevating yourself above others. It is about serving others with what you have been given. When you lead with humility, you remain teachable and open to growth. You understand that you are always learning, always evolving, and always in need of grace. Your purpose is not something you have to create. It is something you uncover. It is already within you, waiting to be discovered and developed. The more you align your actions with your values and your faith, the clearer it becomes. You don't have to strive to be significant. You already are. Your existence alone is proof that you are here for a reason. You were created on purpose, for a purpose, and with a purpose. Walking in purpose is a journey, not a destination. You will have seasons of clarity and seasons of confusion. You will experience moments of triumph and moments of doubt. But every step you take in obedience moves you closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Your purpose is not found in what you achieve, but in how you live. That is in the way you love, the way you serve, the way you show up for the people entrusted to you. When you choose to walk in purpose, you choose to make your life count for something that will outlast you. You choose to invest your time, energy, and gifts in things that have eternal significance. You choose to believe that you are part of a bigger story and that your unique contribution matters more than you may ever fully understand. This is what it means to live with intention, to rise each day with a sense of mission, and to trust that every moment is an opportunity to honor the calling on your life. That cultivating unshakable confidence is not about pretending you have it all together or never feeling insecure again. It is about building a foundation so solid that no matter what comes against you, you remain rooted in truth. Confidence is often misunderstood as arrogance or self-importance, but true confidence has nothing to do with elevating yourself above. It is about knowing who you are, accepting who you are not, and standing firm in the knowledge that you are worthy and capable because you were created with purpose. When you cultivate unshakable confidence, you stop living for the approval of others. You stop letting their opinions determine your value. You stop giving people the power to make or break you with their praise or criticism. This kind of confidence does not come from achievements or appearance. It does not come from titles, wealth, or status. Those things are temporary, and if you build your identity on them, your sense of worth will rise and fall with your circumstances. Real confidence is anchored in something deeper. It is grounded in the understanding that you are valuable simply because you exist. You were created intentionally and are loved unconditionally by a God who does not make mistakes. To cultivate unshakable confidence, you must first confront the limiting beliefs that have taken root in your mind. Many of these beliefs are planted early through painful experiences or careless words spoken over you. You may have been told you were not enough, that you would never succeed, that you were too much or not enough in some way. Over time, those lies can become so familiar that you start to accept them as truth. But to grow confident, you have to challenge those beliefs. You have to be willing to look at them and say, just because I believe this doesn't mean it is true. You must replace the lies with truth and remind yourself daily that you are capable, loved, and chosen. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you build trust in yourself. You prove to your mind that you are reliable. Whether it is waking up when you said you would, finishing a project, or speaking up when you usually stay silent. Those small acts of integrity create a sense of strength that becomes harder to shake. When you consistently do what you say you will do, you develop the kind of confidence that does not depend on how others see you. Another way to cultivate unshakable confidence is to stop comparing your journey to anyone else's. Comparison is one of the quickest ways to erode your self-belief because it traps you in a cycle of feeling inadequate. No matter how successful you are, there will always be someone with more experience, more recognition, or more resources, but their path is not your path. Your gifts are not their gifts. Your timeline is not their timeline. When you measure your worth by someone else's highlight reel, you overlook the beauty and progress in your own story. Confidence requires that you stay focused on your lane, trusting that what you have is enough for where you are going. You also cultivate confidence by embracing failure as part of growth. So many people hesitate to pursue their dreams because they are terrified of failing. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary ingredient. It teaches you resilience, creativity, humility, and strength. Each setback is an opportunity to learn and become more prepared for what is next. When you stop seeing failure as proof you are not good enough, you take away its power to paralyze you. You can look back at what didn't work, extract the lessons, and keep moving forward with greater wisdom. Confidence grows when you surround yourself with people who speak life into you. The company you keep matters. If you spend time with those who constantly criticize, belittle, or undermine you, it will be difficult to believe in yourself. You need people who see your potential, who remind you of your strengths, who encourage you to keep going when you feel like giving up. Sometimes you have to distance yourself from negativity to protect the belief you are building. Healthy relationships are a mirror that reflects your value back to you, helping you see what you sometimes forget. Another powerful practice for developing unshakable confidence is speaking affirmations over yourself. The words you speak shape your reality. When you declare truth over your life, you train your mind to think differently. You start to dismantle the old narratives that kept you small. Saying things like, I am worthy, I am capable, I am enough may feel uncomfortable at first, but over time, those declarations sink in and become part of your mindset. You begin to operate from a place of assurance rather than doubt. Confidence also comes from knowing your values and living by them. When you are clear on what matters to you and make decisions that align with those values, you feel strong and grounded.